How do you create a memorable character? We're going to go over some advice, strategies, and tips so that way you can become a much better writer, regardless of your skill level. We're also going to do a writing sprint, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite characters, and we might even touch on some popular love characters. It's Valentine's Day. Why not? Welcome to Kaufman Writes. I'm Kaufman, and this is my daily creative writing live stream. We're going to be starting off with a 20-minute writing sprint. So today, two 20-minute writing sprints. You can join me if you feel like writing, or if you've had a long day, just kick back and listen to the chill music. All right for you. All right for both of us. So let me throw on the music, and we're going to get right into it. Let's go with epic. We're going to go with cinematic. Nope. We're going with epic. The epic feel. We're going to get the writing sprint. You see I have my story up. And let's see, got to make sure. There we go. We got our music. Perfecto. And we're going to hop right into it. We got some writing to do. All right. I hope you're ready for this. All right. So I'm on my last Scarecrow project. There we go. If you're hopping into the stream, you can just see what the story is about. I've got my 20-minute timer, and I will throw this up so you can read along if you want. All right. And the timer is going. Let's see. At least there was some progress. The last Scarecrow started to reach down into the hole to grab its friend, but the singing nearby was fast approaching. For all the flowers in the dark. He looked over his shoulder and saw one of the sunflowers pacing nearby. He didn't know what would happen if they caught him. Best not to test out their mind control, their peculiar mind control ability. He returned to digging his hole until the flower came and went. He then got onto his stomach and reached down into the hole. He felt a handful of feathers and pulled. He only managed to pull Mr. Crow to surface level before a sharp peck hit his hand, forcing him to let go. He peered down into the hole, and sure enough, his friend returned to digging a hole to who knows where. He sat back and glanced to his shoulder, where Pebble, where the tiny pixie was rolling on her back in a fit of laughter. I need a better I need to create some better cussing and swear words for this world. Ah, all right. Excellent. I feel like I made a really good progress there. All right. That was a really good first sprint. Well, I'll be continuing this actually and probably just in just a little bit with sprint number two. Ah, time for a writing break. Oof. Ah, I felt pretty good about that. So, by the way, welcome if you hopped into this stream, and thanks for joining me on this little writing sprint. What let me think. Are you working on any stories? Was there anything exciting you're working on, or are you just relaxing from a long day? I would say with that section, I was like, I've been creating this like these characters with the world. Obviously, you could see what the synopsis was of the story, and the main heroes, the last Scarecrow, Mr. Crow, and this pixie character came to this garden where it was like controlled by like these walking like wildflowers and daisies, and it was this kind of like interesting trip. I wanted to create an experience where it's like, all right, it seems like it should be a serene thing, but it's very like subverted. So I'm having a lot of fun, and this is the I'm also developing the pixie. The pixie is like the newest character to the group, and I was like, all right, how do I create like a fairy pixie type character that's not like a pixie that I've met before? Like, this is a dark fairy tale, but I don't want to create like a Tinkerbell. I want to create something fun, something cool. I'm gonna create a engaging character. But question of the day, what is your favorite character? Drop it in the comments below. There are when I think about one of my favorite characters, we actually get to see. Oh, hey, what's up, Jessica? Thanks for hopping on the live stream. But yeah, so when I think about one of my favorite characters, I think about, let me think. Actually, just a second, as I'm getting used to using multiple cameras, so I can stream to different formats. Um, so as I'm thinking about my favorite character, I'm actually super excited because I loved the X-Men and the fact that they get to come in to Marvel with Deadpool. Now, let's think about like a memorable character, right? Even before Ryan Reynolds put his whole spin on Deadpool. Deadpool works because A, he's memorable because he breaks the fourth wall and he makes the jokes directly at you, the viewer. Even from the first Deadpool, like that's how that character was written from the comic books. Now, I didn't read the comic books personally, but I remember doing some research on the character. Ryan Reynolds just pulls the character off very well. Deadpool is extremely comedic character, tragic backstory, likable personality because he's a hero, and his quirk is that he can break the fourth wall. All three reasons that we love, sometimes hate Deadpool as a character. Mm. What are some other favorite characters out there? I would say like so think let's see. I would say Harry Potter. Harry Potter was always a favorite character of mine. Once again, tragic backstory. Likeable. I mean, depending on who you ask, if you like Gryffindors. And his quirk was that he had great at magic and his like thing with friends. Technically, with him being a Horcrux, I think that was probably a part of the storytelling and the quirk. Yeah, I would say those were a couple memorable characters. Let me think. What other popular characters? Oh, popular TV show from last year. A great favorite character of mine. I would say from The Last of Us. Oh, I love it so much. I don't know if you've played The Last of Us, the video game, or if you saw The Last of Us, the television show. Great characters. There's one of my favorite characters, Ellie, in the show is great because a tragic backstory. Her basically her family's gone, and she has the cure to the world. If you haven't seen it, or she has the cure to the zombies. And her quirk is that she's a young rebellious teenager who's really like redeeming thing is that she could save the world. So like that's the fun thing about her. Now, in the interest of Valentine's Day, what are some good and memorable love characters. Oof. I'm like, what are some good like love characters? Some good love couples. Can you think of any love couples that come to mind? I'm like, what would a good love couple be? Romeo and Juliet. Who doesn't think of like the classic Romeo and Juliet characters, love pair? It's they're young, they're naive, and they end up both dying as a result of their naivete, right? And as a result of the world that happens around them. Let's think of something more recent. The Office. I was watching The Office recently. Who doesn't love Jim and Pam Beasley? If you are into comedy shows, it's and the reason that they make such a great love characters, a love couple relationship, is because A, they're both likable. B, they both start off with Jim not a fan of his job very much, and Pam in a relationship she's not happy with. So there's the obstacle. And as a result, because they work together and their personalities work very well together, they end up coming together and they become probably like a very like lovable relationship couple in a television show. I try to think about other let's see, what are some other television love couples that stand out? Hmm. I feel like there's one on the tip of my mind because I haven't seen any rom-coms lately. I know I touched upon a couple of my like old time favorites yesterday in both Princess Bride, True Love's First Kiss, Moulin Rouge, about a boy who a broke writer. Who doesn't love a story about a broke writer who falls in love with a prostitute? But true love conquers all in that story. Let me think. A very dark love story, a very, very dark love story was a television show, You. That is an anti-hero. And this is the question I put out to you out there. Like, if you're listening to this, can you or have you ever written an anti-hero, an anti would root for? Sorry, I think I lost my stream there for a second. But have you ever thought of an anti-hero character that you would want to root for? Because in the show You, he's basically a stalker and a killer, but we root for him because love, everything about him is that's like his redeeming trait, right? So like when you think of anti-hero, like, anti-heroes are difficult because the things that they do are evil. I mean, based on society's standards, they're evil. But the two things is A, they're generally have to be likable, that likable charm side to them. And B, the quirk is that whatever the reason is so important. The reason they do the killing is what makes us want to root for them. In the example of You, that story, the main character, I think Joe, it's been a second. It's the redeemable factor is that he is pursuing all of this out of a sense of love. And who doesn't want to go against all odds to fight for the one that you love? Now, the only challenge with him is he takes that a little too far by killing, and that's not something everyone's going to do unless you're a serial killer. Let's see, Jessica. Let's see, not really romantic, but they have their own chemistry. Harvey and Donna on Suits. You know what? I've actually never seen that show, but when I was looking up memorable love characters earlier, Harvey and Donna were one of the ones that popped up. So they must be a really good couple. I'm kind of curious like why are Harvey and Donna on Suits a great love couple? There was a romance built. So as I looked online, so if you've seen Suits, and if you're just hopping into the stream, we're just talking about who are your favorite love characters or love couples in the interest of Valentine's Day. Hey, welcome, Sean. Thanks for joining me today. We're just talking about some love couples, And then I'm going to hop back into my next writing sprint number 2. So I hope you're all ready to get some reading on, or you can just listen to me as I throw on some great music and vibe out. But Jessica, I was looking up why the Harvey and Donna from Suits are a great love couple, and Google says because their romance was built on unwavering trust, fierce loyalty, and a bond that transcended the blurred lines between their professional and private lives. And that makes sense because that is a thing that most people want. Think about the average adult spends the majority of their time working. So who doesn't want to find the ultimate romance, the ultimate relationship in the workplace where you have to go to every day, but for it to actually be able to work out and being able to balance professionalism and love. Oof, that's a hard one right there. Let's see. They are each other's person throughout the seasons. Well, he is oblivious most of the time. Yep. What a fun character trait. They are that I see that actually type of couple work out or happen pretty frequently, where you have the guy who's very likable. You have the young guy, likable, great reasoning. He's hopelessly in love with the girl, who's also very likable, and either she's presented as oblivious or presented as uncertain in the times that I've seen it. That's actually a really great trope for love characters. Let's see. I was trying to think. A Google search showed me Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark. That's actually, I mean, it's all right. Their love. I don't know if you're just doing a live stream right now. We're talking about love characters, memorable love characters. And I'm wondering if the Katniss and Peeta from Hunger Games is actually a good character, a good like duo or not. It makes me wonder as I'm about to hop back into my next writing sprint if I need to be including any love interests in my story. I don't think I've developed any love interests. Interesting. All right. So with that fun out of the way, I'm going to hop back into my second writing sprint. Of course, feel free to join me if you feel like writing. If not, if let's say it's been a long day, vibe out to the music with me and you can live vicariously through my writing style. All right. And then after the writing sprint, we're going to, I have a little strategy for talking about how do we create a memorable character. Ooh, because if there's one thing I love, it's characters. All right. So daily writing sprint number 2. And let me throw up the music. And I'm going to return to my last scarecrow and the garden. So I got to reset my time. All right. And writing sprint number 2 is a go. All right. What a second great writing sprint. I was really truly asking myself how I was going to get through the rest of that chapter. It's that entire chapter with the last garden, and I want to say that was what, about 10 pages maybe? 78, 88. So a little about like 12, 13 pages. When I started that garden scene, like I knew that I wanted them to deal with some type of garden obstacle, and that I also wanted them to come out the other side with the character Pebble ingrained in their core party. But how they were going to go about it, I didn't know. The incorporating this like almost like not kind of manipulative like song type ability by the flowers, I thought was fun. And then creating this like sense of loss or them like losing time, I feel like made it added to the the severity of this first obstacle along their journey. And as I, like, got to the end, I'm like, "What's the thing that's gonna stop it besides a distraction?" And I'm like, "Fire." It's once again, fire is a very I'm real the deeper I get into this, that fire is a very big theme that the last Scarecrow really deals with and is going to be subjected to it actually time and time again. But I just thought of that image as he was running away, and, like, I can see it clearly in my head as he's escaping the fire, as he's escaping the last garden, all of the vegetables, fruits, everything are just running around in chaos, and the last thing he sees is the outlines of that golden wildflower standing there on its leaves of divinity or whatever, and it's just being burned alive and continuing to sing in a almost like a serene, maniacal fashion. I thought that would be a cool way to leave it off. Oof, man, so that was fun. And if you found let's throw that in. So, if you found value in the questions or the writing sprint, follow, like, and subscribe to this live stream or the video on the replay. And that way you'll be alerted when I do my daily writing stuff, writing videos, shorts, live streams, all the stuff. I'm working on how to incorporate writing sprints, strategies. I'll be doing some more pop culture stuff in the future. I always like trying new things to keep both of us entertained. All right. But with that writing sprint out of the way, I want to hop into a great question. So I posed this question to you. What makes a memorable character? Now, we were talking about characters earlier, and we were really thinking about like, okay, what were cool character traits? What is there a reason when we think of our favorite characters of history, television shows, books, movies, you name it, what makes our favorite characters stand out? What, and I ask you this, what makes a character iconic? When we think of the character Darth Vader, why is Darth Vader memorable? Is it because of his sound or perhaps his tragic backstory? When we think of iconic characters, what about James Bond and his mission to be the double O 007 spy who is always the stoic picture of what masculinity should be, while always being challenged with the ideals of whatever story, mission, or villain he is pitted up against. Hmm. What are some other characters? We touched upon Hunger Games. What makes Katniss Everdeen a memorable character? Is it the tragic backstory? Or perhaps it's the likable quirk? Or maybe it's that heroic feeling we get when we undergo and we embark on this journey with this character, with these characters. Let's see. And what did Jessica? Memorable characters for me are usually the ones who challenge the norm. I love that. Memorable characters are ones who challenge the norm. So when I think about creating a memorable character, how do I create a memorable character who challenges the norm? What if I created a character who is pitted against an evil government society? And I'm like, all right, to have them challenge the norm, I will have them cuss out everyone that they meet against. They will be friendless and they will be a lone vigilante. I wonder if that would be enough to make them challenge the norm. Maybe, maybe not. As I think about different types of characters, it really makes me ask myself, what are the reasons, or are there any specific that make us really connect with these iconic characters? And I think you're absolutely right, Jessica. I think challenging the norm is an element of it. As I've really been thinking about what makes a memorable character, I've asked myself this a couple questions, and I've defined a couple key characteristics. Characteristic number one, believability. The character in itself, regardless of how fantastical or how non-fantastical the world is, has to be believable to some degree, sense, or some type of realism. Even if it's in a far-fetched world, the the character, we have to feel like that if they were in the real world, despite all the circumstances, that they would be believable. Because if they're not believable, we can't connect with them. We can't relate with the emotions and the emotional turmoil, emotional journey that they have to undergo. If they're not believable, we don't root for the hero. If they're not a believable villain, we don't try to hate them. We don't try to hope that the hero wins against all odds to up the villain. But it's not just believability. It's not. I think believability is only a part of it. When I think about what else makes a memorable character, relatability. When I think about our heroes, I think about what are the things with heroes. We have to relate with the hero. We have to have a thing that resonates based off their actions. They have to do a thing that we could see and that we could be like, oh, I could do that thing if I were to put into that context. Or I believe that if I were put in that journey, that I would make the same decisions. If we're not relating with the hero, think about them. I wanted to make sure that that was right. Yeah, I do believe in relatability. But what makes a villain? Why do we like villains? Do we relate with villains? They're evil, killing people generally, doing bad things to screw over the world. It's not necessarily the relatability. I think with villains, it's the desire to relate with them. It's the desire that if the villain does something, we'll think about Darth Vader, perfect example. It's that Darth Vader has this whole power complex. He's cool. He has all this power. And he's basically everyone, he commands respect or fear. He commands fear of the world around him. Do we want to be evil people, human beings? Of course not. But there's some part of some humanistic level where we want to relate with that power complex with villain. Not that we actually would or want to, but there has to be some desire. But that's not all. It's not just a desire to relate, right? So even if we think of an evil character, I really like that. Snaps are going to you. They are just misunderstood. Villains are seriously misunderstood. I think about what's a very yep, yep. Megamind is a great misunderstood character. You'll actually recognize that most animated movies that leverage hero villain, call it an anti-hero, but they're usually very, very cute. The animated movies, generally Pixar movies like to do this. They always like to have the hero feel like they're misunderstood. Because they feel like they're misunderstood, that makes us like, oh, well, they made a mistake, right? Because if someone is misunderstood, that makes us think that they can have a second chance. And if they can have a second chance, then we deserve a second chance. The misunderstood arc is a great one. Absolutely agree. When I think about like favorite animated characters, I think actually this isn't a villain, but one of my favorite hero animated movies was Incredibles. Oh, I loved Incredibles so much when I was growing up. I just wanted to be part of the Incredible family and fight against those supers. It was great. And also had a very great interesting, entertaining villain. Not one of the strongest villain dynamics if you've ever seen Incredibles. Let me think. I'm trying to think of if there's any other animated movies that come to mind. Probably, but you know what? Right over my head. It's the Minions for me. The Minions are cute. I'd hang with them all day. You know what? There's the Minion franchise, very, very successful. Very, very, very successful. It's I I think the Minions work because you have so many different personality types. So they've created all these different emotions where now we can connect with each type of minion. And we're like, oh, well, that's one emotional type of minion that I could relate with. They're underdog characters. So then we want to connect with the underdog character and the emotional character. Minions work very, very, very well. Absolutely. Let's see. What's another? Let me think. Animated movies. I I was like, is there? Yeah, when I think of like animated movies right now, I'm thinking of like most Disney movies you see. It's usually a hero that's very straightforward. Some of the more recent uh Disney animated movies, they're doing more misunderstood villain type characters. Um there's a reason that Frozen grew in the predominance that it did. Let me think. Yeah, that's all that I got for animated movies right now. Now, I'm actually glad that you said that they're misunderstood because that actually made me think. Let's see. The I left with that trait can't leave us alone, right? So misunderstood, and I think this is the last key essential ingredient to creating a memorable character. They have to have a trait that is truly memorable, a trait that is definable, a trait that leaves me, leaves you wanting more. In screenwriting terms, this moment is a lot of times referred to as a save the cat moment, but that moment is a result and a reflection of, sometimes I call it a quirk. Sometimes I call it's like a thing for a character, something that we makes the character stand out. Sometimes that's part of the backstory. Sometimes that is the thing that they carry around. Who doesn't think about Indiana Jones without his trusty whip? Or who doesn't think about Han Solo without the Millennium Falcon? And who doesn't think about I was like, nearly every single Marvel character you can think of has a physical thing with them. Like Marvel loves to put the physical object that makes the character stand out, because it's usually the physical object is combined with their ability that then gives them the personality. Maleficent is one of my faves. The movie, I like that you had to clarify the movie, not the animated one. You know what? It's been a while. That was Maleficent was the one with that was Angelina Jolie, right? Yeah, I was thinking about it. It's been a while since I've seen that. Thinking of Angelina Jolie, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, great female character. Um, it's been a while since I've seen that one as well. Let's see what other memorable characters do I think of? Now, a lot of the characters that we've touched on come from a lot of like dramatic movies, fantasy, some sci-fi. Let's think of like a comedy. Think of something as easy as Jumanji. I just happen to think of that old comedy with Robin Williams, with the dice and the board that makes that character memorable. Or thinking about DC and the Dark Knight makes the evil antagonist, the Joker, a truly evil character. It's his makeup. That face paint and that makeup is such a core quirk about his personality that he truly feels and brings evil to the page. I'd be curious to hear, what do you think makes an evil character? Think about, let's see, think about the female characters on the bat. You're right, Harley Quinn. What Harley Quinn is a very, very popular character. What makes Harley Quinn a truly memorable character? Is it because she's portrayed as crazy in some perceptions of her? Or is it because that she's has the confidence to be who she is? It's the confidence. Because who doesn't want to have that confidence to to say what they want, to be who they want, regardless of the situation? Thing about female characters, all were screwed over. A lot of the female characters in the Batman movies actually are screwed over. I'm not as familiar with the Batman universe, but as when I think about the ones that I know, become the villain. Interesting. Poison Ivy, Cat. Yep, yep. That's that's really saying something. DC, what are you doing to your female characters? What are you doing to your women? Making them pursue the revenge or the scorned route. It's always a fun route to go. When there's so many ways that we can go about creating a memorable character, whether it's create an item, an ability, a personality flaw, a weakness, a background, or just a thing that we love to hate about them. But the great thing and the an absolutely incredible thing, which is one of the reasons that I love writing, is that we get to create it. We get to choose what is that thing that makes them memorable. I am on a personal quest to create a truly iconic character. Maybe it'll happen in The Last Scarecrow. Maybe it'll happen in another story. Who's to say? But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the journey is just as much fun as the end game. Thank you for joining me today. We went through a number of writing sprints. I pulled off 2 writing sprints today because I wanted to challenge myself to write a little bit more. 2 20-minute writing sprints. Thank you for joining me in the discussion and talking about some love characters, some relationships, and some memorable characters. And Jessica, thank you for joining and me in the conversation. You brought up some great characters. You brought up some really memorable characters. There's a couple of these that I'm now going to have to go look at. I've been told to watch Suits before, and now I'm going to be thinking about Batman as well. Thanks for staying tuned. I'm glad we got some writing done. If you're watching this on the replay, like, subscribe, and follow, because new daily writing stuff will help you become a better writer. Do you want to become a better writer? Do you want to beat procrastination? Follow me along the journey and let's do it together, because let me tell you, the struggle is real. That's all that I got for the night. I'm going to sign off. I'm Kaufman, and I